So hi. I don't really know what this video is gonna be about. I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit silly, awkward. It's currently almost 1 a.m. But here we are. I just wanted to be the bearer of some bad news. Guys, if you can avoid traveling because of this war situation, I'm sorry, but you need to avoid traveling. Hi. For those of you who are super new, I think that that's like everybody. I just wanted to say I really do appreciate the fact that people take me seriously on the internet. I don't really take myself seriously, so that's just something to keep in mind. But the first thing that I just wanted to say, I am not here to argue about the implications of the Iran war from a domestic political lens. I want to just strictly talk about the implications for this war on travel right now. There is a lot of conjecture about what's actually happening on the ground as a reality for the Iran war. So I'm going to try to give you guys a good summary, you can say, of what's actually happening, what to be careful of, and my analysis of the situation right now as it is for the end of April 2026. Okay. I just wanted to start off by saying that if you're trying to travel right now to anywhere in Asia, right, or you're traveling to anywhere that is in the way of the war, I would kind of reconsider that. And that's for two reasons. Okay. The first reason is that how urgent is your travel, right? If those countries that you're visiting do not necessarily have routes that are not connected through the Middle East, you're going to have a problem for that. The reason as to why you're going to have an issue is because the connectivity that is through the Middle East has become such a pervasive, form of connectivity that we experience from airlines. It's like standard, right? When we're talking about airlines like Emirates, Qatar, to a lesser extent Kuwait and Gulf Air, these players have honestly made that area into a hub internationally, right? There's no arguing the fact that those airlines have brought tremendous amount of connectivity. The flip side to that is that a lot of countries therefore lack domestic alternatives and point-to-point routing because of that. I know countries like Pakistan, for example, or even African countries like Nigeria. It's very difficult to get to those countries without flying a Gulf carrier, and that means transit through the Middle East. So why I'm saying you may reconsider that travel is because you may not have an airline option, right, primarily. And that is also notwithstanding the safety factors that you really have to look at, right? So, currently we're in whatever ceasefire we're in. Okay. Trump announced that. Now, does that mean that the war can't start tomorrow? No, it doesn't mean that, right? So we have to look at the probabilistic risk of flying to the Middle East right now. And for me, I'm just too uncomfortable with that. I don't care who says it's a ceasefire, because at the end of the day, I don't trust the process enough to say I'm going to hedge my life on the words of politicians. I'm just not going to do that. And I don't recommend that anybody does that. Dubai International Airport has come under fire, right, directly. And that's not to say that that's the only damage in the Gulf, but that is the big public one. For those of you who don't know, the Emirates are actually cracking down on people that take video recordings or have spread video recordings even to their private family members of what has been going on in that region. So that's one consideration as well. So you're essentially looking at, my first point is that there is general geopolitical instability that is going on right now. And it may be that you can't get to your destination without routing through the Middle East, right? A lot of countries are connected, and the situation right now is just too volatile. The second part of that, though, is that airlines are actively telling people that it's safe to travel because they're kind of reliant on the revenue that it brings, right? Emirates, Qatar, Etihad, and all of these airlines are bleeding massive amounts of cash. So what are they going to do? They're going to lower the prices. It's going to look attractive to be going to whatever country. I'm just saying I would avoid the Middle East right now. Okay. So, war starts next day. You're stuck there. It's a problem. It's a problem for a lot of people. I understand that, some people are comfortable with that, some people are not. They think that Emirates is going to give them accommodations. Maybe they will, right? But not everybody has visas to the UAE. That's what, that's kind of my point. So there's broad geopolitical instability that is occurring right now because of the war, right? We don't know what is the sake for the airlines, like what is going to be happening tomorrow, what's going to be happening today in terms of availability. Okay, the second part of that is for people that are not directly affected by the Middle East. Okay, second part of that is that there are now fuel shortages in a lot of areas of the world, guys, and I don't know if it's not being published. I don't know if it's being publicized properly. I don't know if this is the first time people are hearing about it. There are fuel shortages that are taking place. And when we look at it from that lens, it also murkies the water. Because even if I'm flying to Europe from New York, okay, or I'm flying to Japan from New York or LA, right, those fuel shortages create resounding impacts. They create cancellations. They create delays. They create environments that are generally just unstable for travel. And you may not want to deal with that because you may not have the infrastructure in the countries to support you, right? A lot of people can't afford to be stuck 2 weeks in Japan. That's just reality, right? So there is a broad scope geopolitical instability right now. I believe that there are reports that the International Energy Agency are saying that Europe may have 4 to 6 weeks of aviation fuel left. We are seeing broad stresses in the domestic sector for American Airlines, speaking United States as airlines, not American Airlines the entity. We've seen Spirit Airlines not do well right now, right? And quite frankly, a lot of countries are having on the ground gas shortages. Petroleum products, diesel, kerosene, whatever derivatives, and then you also have the industrial, impacts that are going on from that. This is all to say that I think that, if you don't have the infrastructure to support yourself in those countries, right, it's not like this is your home, right? For me, like traveling, I don't really go anywhere except India. I'm just keep it real. But when I see people saying, I'm going to do a vacation in the Caribbean, or I'm going to do a vacation in Guam, or I'm going to do a vacation in the Maldives, or I'm going to do a vacation in Sri Lanka, or I'm going to do a vacation wherever, Madagascar, when you're a visitor to those countries, it's very difficult to navigate the systems when something is going wrong. And I think right now what's going wrong is the fact that we do have a war situation going on where we have broad sweeping fuel instability. Now, is it true that it's not affecting everyone? Yes, that is true, right? Some people have access to jet fuel, but even some cities inside of Asia, you may have Singapore being stressed for fuel, but Seoul isn't. I mean, that's not a good example, but you guys know what I mean. And there's vast amounts of differences. There's a lot going on in the world right now. So the fuel shortages are also resoundingly impacting people that should not just directly be affected, right? If I take a nonstop flight from New York to Delhi, right, because of this war, it's first of all doing a stop in a European country, right? There may be fuel issues that are going on in Europe that's going to affect the price of the ticket, but that's also going to, it's also going to mean whether or not that plane is going to take off, right? Anything that goes through that region of the world, it has a potential to get canceled, guys, right? Like, if the fighting starts tomorrow, if it starts today, how can we guarantee, right? We cannot. Which is all for me to say, if you do not have the infrastructure to be safe in these countries that you're visiting from the West, or I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying, let's say that you're in Asia and you're coming to America. Be very in mind of the restrictions of what's going on in the world, because it's not a safe situation right now, guys. People are running out of fuel. People are running out of fertilizer. People are running out of tickets in the planes. There's 20,000 cancellations from Lufthansa alone. What's going on? We don't know. So, yeah.